Talking to Barry Svrluga from the Washington Post, wrote a column about the Redskins ownership, Bruce Allen, him being a fall guy. Before we get to any of that, can you comment on kind of how tone deaf Snyder is? That kind of as the season's winding up, you just hear about his $100 million yacht and a $3 million movie theater?
Man, I wish I had kind of worked that into the column too, because it does. It is. You're right. Tone deaf is exactly right, because the suspicions about Snyder, even though anytime he speaks or people speak about him who are going to talk about him favorably, they talk about how passionate he is about wanting to win for the Redskins and bring another Super Bowl I can't even say Super Bowl trophy without smirking, I guess. But the suspicions of the fan base are no, that's not what he cares about. He cares about jersey sales and making money. And the reason that things are bad now is because there are empty seats, and that decreases how much money he's making. And so when he goes out and buys these ridiculous, over-the-top rich guy baubles, that is exactly what you said. It's tone deaf. Not that he doesn't have the right to spend his $40 he wants, but cast against, when you own a sports franchise, it's not like owning a mall or in public trust, right? You want, it's a community, it's a private business, but it's emotionally owned by the community. And when the owner is buying a $100 million yacht because he has nothing better to do with his money, the fan base rolls its eyes for the millionth time.
Mm-hmm. Well, nothing's going to change with this team. You know it. I know it. People don't want to really work here. I once talked to an ex-Redskin, don't want to say his name, but I was talking about his experience here, and he said, Jason, players don't come here to win. They come here to get paid. I'm sure you've heard that before, too.
For sure.
But, and it's kind of sad. I know the diehards in this city are really frustrated, and you can see it in the stands. You can hear it in their voices. But there are less and
less of them.
And you can hear it in their voices when they call in, Barry. But we just try and tell them, hey, nothing's going to change.
And that's right. And that's why I think, the point of my piece was, it absolutely ridicule Bruce Allen and analyze wait a second, you're saying we're close? What are you close to after 2 7-9 seasons, 1 playoff appearance in Jay Gruden's tenure, 2 playoff wins in the 20 seasons that Snyder has owned the team? We should parse everything that Bruce Allen said in his first public comments in, whatever it was, 588 days. But you can't take your eye off the ball, and the ball is the owner. And I get emails all the time, increasingly, honestly. This year it really went up about, look, I'm not giving that guy any more of my money. And you know what? My Sunday afternoons are free now. I'm enjoying that. I spend more time with my family, and I'm not all wrapped up in this football team that only provides me with frustration. The owner has to pay attention to that. And so some of the frustration with Allen's remarks is, again, we'll go back to tone deafness. It just seems like their reality, or what they're presenting as their reality, is so distant from what the fan experience is and what the fans' kind of analysis of the franchise's position in the league and in town is. And you're right. You go back to, now we're 20 seasons in, and they've tried the big splashy coach in Gibbs or Shanahan. They've tried the upstart coach in Gruden, or whoever you want, Spurrier or Zorn, as if that was a real hire. But none of it's worked. And what's the constant? The constant is the owner. That has to mean something.
All right, so let's talk about stop talking about stuff that won't change, and let's talk about something that will change, and that's going to be the quarterback. I think you and I can both agree that Alex will not be ready. I've already said many times I don't think he's ever going to play again. I hope I'm wrong. But in your opinion, Barry, this team, I don't think they can go into next year in week 1 with Colt, even though I think Colt's a fine person and a decent quarterback. He's not a starter. So they're going to either have to draft someone or go out and sign somebody. And they're kind of hamstrung with the cap with Alex's deal. So do you see them going out and trying to move up in the draft, or maybe at 15, taking a quarterback in the first round and just rolling the dice again?
Yeah, man. That is. I'd start with agreeing with it just seems like there's no way that Alex Smith will be ready for week one. And I think the suspicions about whether he'll play again, period, are totally warranted. And I agree with you about McCoy. I think he's exactly what you want as a backup because for a 3-week span, he could win you a couple games and he's capable in that regard. But the longer you play a guy like that, the more you get exposed. So that leaves you with those hard questions and about drafting or signing somebody else. I think the draft makes more sense just because you'd be on a rookie deal there. It's not going to kill you cap-wise as opposed to going out and signing somebody else. And, as tragic as Alex Smith's situation is, we are going to have to get into the cap ramifications of that deal, and that's going to be tough. So if you draft a quarterback, whether you move up from 15 or you draft somebody there, that is it just represents starting over again at a time when, after you went through all the Cousins drama and you made the trade for Smith, you didn't expect to be starting over because you thought, well, whatever, we've settled the quarterback thing. And it's just hard to see when the top executive under ownership of the team is saying we're close, if only for injuries, we would have been there. Jay Gruden, in his 6th year, longer than anybody has coached under Snyder, a card that allows him to, if you go with a rookie quarterback, whoever it is, whether it's Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray or whoever, you're not saying, okay, we're going to make that jump to 10-6 or 11-5. You're saying this is going to take more time, and it just feels like the spin cycle and the treadmill just continues and continues and continues. It regardless of who that rookie would be.
Right, because you're going to have bumps and bruises even if you had the 1 or 2 pick. If you picked like a Haskins in the top 5, let alone a guy like a Murray, an undersized guy, if he lasts to 15, it's not going to be a graph pointing straight up.
Very rarely, you don't. Peyton Manning or, even 1-1 in the draft is not a guarantee to be like, okay, you're starting week 1 and you're starting week 1 with the expectations that we're going to go to the playoffs. I mean, now 1-1, obviously you have that pick because you went 3-13 or whatever the year before, so the expectations would be tamped down a little bit. But it's just hard to they need a quarterback. The draft makes the most sense financially, and so I get that on one hand. But on the other hand, you have Bruce Allen saying, if not for the injuries, we would have been in the playoffs, and that might be true. But it's just those two things to me butt heads. Like, we're close, except we're starting over with a rookie quarterback. And then to get back to the bigger picture of this whole discussion, this all takes place under the umbrella of, well, it's never really going to get significantly better anyway because this guy owns the team, and even if they make a step forward in 1 year, you can almost count on 2 steps back the next year because there will be some drama or some personnel change either on the coaching staff or somebody leaves. It's tiring. It just is tiring.
That's a good word for it.
Well, it is. Right? We have versions. We're having this discussion right now, and a year from now, we'll be having a different version of the same discussion. Right. The particulars will be different, and we'll say, well, this rookie they drafted either worked out, and that's promising, but the umbrella issue doesn't change, and that's it just gets depressing after a while.
It's been our entire radio career. We've been doing this for a little over 20 years, and it's the same song. They never have a Capitals-like run. It doesn't happen.
No, and it gets depressing, and it wears on you over time. Like I said, I don't have a rooting interest in the team. I'm trying to look at them objectively, but I also would be an idiot to not say, like, well, wow, the Capitals won and they changed the discussion about them and they provided a new storyline, and that was fun. That was totally fun. And if you're not reminded of that, then why are you covering sports in the first place? So it deadens you and bludgeons you over time. And it just, I'm sorry, it does.
You're dead inside, Barry.